we're going to do this for 20 minutes. We're going to do NBA Defensive Player of the Year.
Cool.
Do you think that NBA Defensive Player of the Year this year has been one of the most fun races across the or across the NBA ecosystem? Because I kind of do. I think it's been like a super fun awards race.
Yeah, no, I think it has. It's a lot more fun than talking about the other elephant in the room. So I'm excited to talk about this one.
We're not talking about
No,
it.
yeah, it doesn't exist.
We're not doing it. Doesn't exist.
But yeah, I mean, to me, I will say it is. I don't want to say it's locked up with 10 games. Anything can happen, but to me, like this, if I could give a vote, I know who I would give it to right now.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with it for what it's worth.
Okay.
I have two guys. I think it's definitely down to two guys. Like, I don't even think it's close. Like, I think those two guys are in a tier above everybody else, and it's one of those two, and that's it. But the more I dig into it, the more I struggle with who to pick of those two.
Okay, who are your two names?
My two names are Brook Lopez and Jaren Jackson.
Those are my two names as well.
So let's do this first before we do Brook Lopez versus Jaren Jackson. I think I had you come with 5, right? Yep. Who would be your 5th best?
Yeah, so 5th best, this is where I think 5th for me, because I just have a list. So trying to reduce it down to a 5th, I think it would be Mitch Robb for me, would be 5th.
Yeah, he was in my top like 8 or 9. So yeah.
Because he's been really good this year. Just has done a ton of really impressive things. Worth noting too, like New York is in kind of a weird slide defensively over the last month. Like they've not been terrible, but it's been kind of blah. But he's still been really impactful for them, and their defense has been really good all year. 4th, I do. Okay, so technically Mitch Robb would be 6th for me, but 4th, I mean 5th would be Clax. Like Nick Claxton has still been really good.
That is who I have.
Obviously he slid a little bit. Like I think I had him 3rd last time that we talked on Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously Brooklyn's defense has fallen off. Like they're just fallen off as a team. That's what happens when you lose your 2 best players. I just can't deny what he did for like the first 55 games of the season, and he's still been really good in his role and doing what he needs to do. It's just the team is different. So I don't want to discount what it's been. It's still a really incredible year for him.
So Brooklyn's defense, because I also have Claxton 5th. Brooklyn's defense over this like little 14 game run where they're 5-9 and, you know, struggling a little bit since the moves, they're still 11th. And that defense, I think, has actually been pretty okay. And Claxton has been the reason that I think that they have stopped the free fall at the end. Like the free fall has stopped because of the defense. And I think Claxton deserves the credit for that. Obviously, getting Mikal Bridges is a big piece of this too. I will say, like, I think as Mikal is focused a little bit more on offensive production with Brooklyn, the defense has been great, but not like what it was in Phoenix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have Claxton right now at 5. I don't really want to dive too deep into some of these guys because I think we're going to have a more robust conversation about the top 2. Number 4, who do you have?
4 for me would be Joel Embiid right now. I still think like it's
I don't have him in the top 10, so this is going to be fun.
Okay, yeah. No, I still think it's worth noting, like, because again, last time that we talked, I had him on my short list. I don't think he was top 5, but their defense has just been awesome. And a really big reason for why they've succeeded in 2023. Yep. He's been a large part of that. Like, not that like they have real defensive players throughout the roster, but I think his defense has been really, really damn good. Like, obviously there are going to be some of the nights where I don't think his defense is as strong and consistent, but he's still been, for other than my top guy, the best, like, straight up main rim protector in the NBA. Like not playing the 4. I mean, like who's pretty solely playing the 5. I would have him there. He's been really damn good defensively. I can't quibble with having him outside of it, but that's where I would be right now.
Yeah. The thing with him is that he takes some possessions off here and there.
Sure.
And I do think that you can still catch them and drop like pretty regularly, a bit more than you can catch like Brook or even like like I have Jared Allen ahead of him right now. And I think Jarrett has been really good defensively. I don't have Jarrett in my top 5. I have another Cav in my top 5 that we're going to talk about. But I think that with Joel, the possession by possession stuff is ultimately what stops me. I would have him somewhere in my top 15 or so, probably top 20, at the very least top 20. He could be like 11th, he could be 14th, whatever it is. But I knocked him down just a little bit lower because of the possession by possession stuff, and because I think that he is not quite as versatile. And I think you can take advantage of some of what he brings to the table a little bit more than other pure drop defenders like Brook, like, Jarrett's not really a pure drop coverage defender, but they do drop with Jarrett a lot.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think, honestly, to be fair, like I think I maybe way too heavily weighted those moments where he just takes over. Like I think like there are the
and he
moments,
does,
especially like it's not when we talk about De'Aaron Fox being like the clutch offensive player of the year this year, man, Joel has got to be like the clutch defensive player of the year if that was a thing.
yeah.
Like his ability to turn it up in the last 5 minutes of a game is so impressive to me. And again, like then you're talking about, okay, well, why isn't like that all the time? He's got like 36% usage to be fair, but like I don't really disagree with you. I'd be fine having him lower.
I will say, like, Joel Embiid is allowing 61% for opponents to shoot at the rim this year, which is not great for someone like that. He contests a lot and does like a pretty good job of just like being big. But I do think it's a lot of earlier in games, he does take a couple possessions here and there off. And I think that can lead to it, and which is ultimately why I ended up with him outside of my top 10 that I did. My number 4 was Bam. And it's just like the most versatile, switchable defender in the NBA. And every time I watch Bam, I'm just like, this is very clear. This is probably even more of an me just watching with my eyes and understanding what I'm watching pick as opposed to the numbers pick.
Damn, Bam about to call me a calculator casual. I do not have Bam in my top 5. I would have Bam's on my like Bam would be top 10 for me, but I just think as amazing as his offense has been, his defense has just been like 2-3% worse for me, and I just don't think it's been quite as good as some of the guys I would have in the top 5. I'd be fine having him over like Mitch Rob or maybe Clax, but I think I would probably have those guys over him right now. But I mean, mainly it's just Miami's defense as a whole has been pretty rough.
I mean, they're 8th in defensive efficiency right now. And like they're 8th in defensive efficiency with like 36-year-old Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero playing a bunch of minutes, Max Strus.
Oh no, I mean, sorry, I should have quantified. Like basically, like since January, their defense has been pretty rough, and I think a lot of that's coincided with, like again, like Bam's had to do a lot more heavy lifting on offense. So again, that's not trying to take away from him, but it does factor in for me a little bit.
Yeah, he's just so switchable. He flies all over the place. Like it's just one of those deals where I'm just like, when I watch this dude, I'm just like, this guy is unbelievable defensively. He's the most versatile defender in the NBA. Like all due respect to Giannis, who I had, I think at 6, if I remember correctly, 6 or 7, I believe. To me, Bam is the most versatile defender. He's physical. He's a good post defender. He flies around and help. Like it's when I watch him, I'm just like, this is the scheme. Bam is the scheme for Miami because they're super. They do a lot of different stuff. They're aggressive in ball screen actions from time to time. They switch from time to time. Like they can do anything because Bam is there and because he exists. Like he is the scheme.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm not like. I don't think that we're far off. It is a really good field this year.
It is. Who do you have at number 3?
Yeah, number 3 for me, dude. This is so tough. I really want to have one of Evan Mobley or Jared Allen here. I think my biggest issue is trying to decipher between them. I don't know.
It's hard.
Yeah. Like, I think I tend to lean towards Evan being the best defender of both of them. But then you also factor in, okay, well, is he able to do the same without Jarrett? I mean, like, part of what makes them such a dynamic duo is that they're fucking duo. Like, having both of them together is what unlocks Evan to be so good in what he does. but also
Their
like
synergy together is unbelievable.
I
Like
want to
it's
give them
incredible.
joint defensive player of the year is basically where I'm at.
I agree.
Yeah, it's so that part is really hard because they're so good. Did you have Mobley as your guy
I
here?
have I have Mobley, and it's hard
Yeah.
because this is a full season award. And I think that for the first half, it was probably Jarrett that was better. I think that Jarrett's just like ability to protect the rim and consistently shut that area down. I completely agree with you. Like it opens up Evan to fly around and help, to be a little bit more switchable, to do X, Y, and Z, right? I think that over the back half here, Evan has been like unbelievable. Like I am blown away when I watch him defensively. It's the switchability. It's the fact that he's a little bit stronger and can like hold up. It feels like a little bit better when guys try to take advantage of that and out leverage him. It's it's the help. He's just constantly available. Like he is so long and he's just flying around constantly, scrambling around everywhere. His instincts have gotten that much cleaner and that much better. It feels like when I watch him. I went with Evan. I also had Jarrett in my top 10. I think that these two both have a very real case to make all defense teams. I don't totally know how to parse between the two of them, but I completely agree with you. What makes them so good is that they're a tandem and their synergy together is phenomenal. I went with Evan. I think Evan's ability to scramble around and be just like more active and aggressive and everything is why I chose him. And I think he's been a little bit better over the second half.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would lean Evan as well. It's just like I think that's one of the ones where I look at him like, damn, this is really
It's hard.
to pin down.
It's really, really hard. Okay. Number 1 and number 2, we have Brook Lopez and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have it to?
Jaren.
I do too. And I went into this. You have Jaren at 2, you said, right?
Yes.
I went into this assuming that Jaren was going to be my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. I was just like, look, he's been unbelievable the whole way. I think that their rim protection numbers have been astronomical in the minutes that he's played this year. He's more switchable than Brook, et cetera, et cetera. And then I like really dug into the numbers. Brook Lopez this year, there's a stat that got shared yesterday. This stat got shared by the lead. Brook Lopez has contested 1,219 shots this year. Do you know who is second in having contested the most shots this year?
I'm trying to think who is it? Is it Nikola Jokic?
No, it's Evan Mobley.
That was a dumb answer, but like I know, like Jokic contests a lot, doesn't really do anything. But yeah, so it's Mobley.
Do you know how many shots Evan Mobley has contested?
Less than 1,000.
Yeah, he has contested 800. Brook Lopez has contested 1,219 shots this year. Evan Mobley has contested 803. There is a bigger gap between Brook at number 1 and Evan Mobley at number 2 than Evan Mobley at number 2 and the person who is ranked 49th in this stat.
Damn.
In terms of having contested shots. Brook Lopez's impact defensively, I think, just being constantly available and consistently stopping teams from being able to get their offense and doing it efficiently, I think is why. I think he's why he is the number 1 pick for Defensive Player of the Year this year. Jaren's been unbelievable. By the way, these two teams, Milwaukee and Memphis right now, dead heat tied for second in defensive rating right now behind Cleveland. And when you watch Brook, it's just that he is so enormous inside. Teams just like, it feels like they don't even go in there against Milwaukee now. He still finds ways to contest shots, but like, it's just, it's crazy. It is genuinely crazy how good he is as a rim protector and how often he finds his way into contesting shots and help, how strong he is rotationally. He is everywhere for Milwaukee. And I think he is more than Giannis for sure. He is the guy for them this year defensively. I don't even really think it's close.
Yeah, I agree. And also just got to give a big shout out to what he's done this last month, because he's taken on an even bigger offensive role. 21 points, 6 boards a game on 68% true shooting. It's been awesome in March. And he was doing some of that in February as well. It's been a great year. But exactly like you mentioned, like the defense, his ability to just completely wall off anything in the paint has been awesome to watch. And I think it's worth noting too, like when you're talking about context and stuff, having guards as good as they have at staying over top and keeping things in front has been so astronomically important, because I think, and this is not to totally just bring things up for Embiid, but I do think it's one of the things that I think is worth noting in terms of like talking about context and environment. Like part of the reason that I think Brook is having this incredible season where he's showcasing his best skill, like being this incredible rim protector, is because of how incredible Javon Carter and Drew Holiday have been at being able to kind of keep things on an island and not make things so easy to just be like, all right, well, we're just going to pull up. And I think to his credit too, what's been so fun in watching Brook this year has been how well he's navigated that space. You know, like everything's not always just, I'm all the way back at the rim. Like I think he's been really good at, you know, coming out a little bit higher and gauging the distance and making it harder for teams to just be like, we're going to kill you with pull-ups. That's been the most fun aspect of watching this Milwaukee team for me this year, has been how they've kept that defense so consistent throughout the year. Because obviously, you know, the offense died multiple times, and it started off dead to begin the year. Honestly, it's obviously come along now, but like when you're looking at how steady the defense has been throughout the year, he's such a large part of that. I mean, he is the largest part of that, and that's why he would be my defensive player of the year right now.
The other thing that I think is getting missed here with Jaren is that I think that like the Steven Adams impact defensively is like very, very real for them. And that's not to say Jaren's been phenomenal, but like it's more that Steven Adams has had an incredibly underrated defensive season that, again, like I would have Steven Adams like somewhere in my top like 15 right now, like for defensive player of the year. He's been great. He's been like absolutely incredible protecting the rim this year defensively. Just his physicality inside, like he is enormous. If you look at the numbers in terms of like the difference for, you know, defense, when Jaren Jackson is on with Steven Adams, you know, they give up 107.3 points per 100. When Jaren Jackson is on with Steven Adams off the court, they give up 109 points per 100 possessions. With Brook Lopez on the court without Giannis Antetokounmpo, they give up 108.4 points per 100 possessions. When both Giannis and Brook are on, they actually give up more points per 100 possessions. Like Brook has actually like led defenses that have been better without Giannis than when Giannis is on the court. And I guess that what I'm saying here is that often Giannis, you know, gets all of this attention for being the defensive player of the year candidate. And he's like a very worthy, you know, someone again that I would have somewhere in the top 15, 10, something like that in defensive player of the year. I think that we're also reducing the impact of what Steven Adams has done defensively versus I think that like basically Steven Adams and Giannis this year have been somewhat comparable defensively is what I'm trying to say this year. In the minutes that they have played, I think that Steven Adams has been that good. You know, maybe Giannis has been a little bit better defensively, but I think that that's the difference here for me, is that Jaren gets talked about like he is the catalyst for everything defensively. And I think that's not quite true. Like I think Steven Adams is almost just as good. And I think Dillon Brooks has been incredible defensively too. By the way, like, you know, people talk about Drew Holiday, having Drew Holiday chase over the top of screens all the time. You know, I was talking to Jason Timpf on his show. Like he just said that he thinks Dillon Brooks is like the best one-on-one defender in the league. And I think that's like a little bit crazy, but Dillon Brooks has been an incredible, like on ball defensive player this season. So I just say all this to say both of these defensive player of the year candidates are insulated by incredible defenses around them. I don't really think there's like an enormous difference in terms of like comparing defensive talent on Milwaukee versus comparing like the defensive play that Memphis has had this season.
No, that's fair. I think that's something I'd have to sit with a little bit more. Like exactly what you're mentioning. I think a lot of it's the difficulty in trying to parse down like role and how much you're carrying. Because I think for me, I probably just weight what Brook does a little bit more than Jaren, and I don't mean that to be negative. I think like to be honest, if Jaren had played the entire season, and that's not to discount him, like this is part of the reason why I don't have AD on here is he's barely. I don't think he's played
Yeah.
2/3. He's played barely 2/3 of the season, like not even.
Yeah.
So that's why I wouldn't have him
Not
here.
even.
And I think that's part of the reason why I probably struggle with having Jared number one. Like, and I like obviously if you have like the singular best impact, then I don't want to discount that. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think when you're looking solely at what Brook has done as like the very best at what he's doing, I would be there. Like it's just been that damn good all year.
Yeah, and like, look, I'll hear out a case that Jaren has been a better per minute defender this year than Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez has played like 35 to 40% more minutes than Jaren has this year. That's not just a small difference. That's a big difference. Like Brook Lopez has played almost 2,200 minutes this year. Jaren Jackson has played like 1,550 in terms of minutes this year. That's a huge, huge difference in terms of just being out on the court, being available, contesting numbers of shots, being there. I would come close to conceding, look, I think that Jaren maybe has been better on a per possession basis than Brook. I think it's very close. I just think that the sheer quantity of what Brook has done this season outweighs that per minute play that Jaren has given this year.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. I would agree with that.